it's Deborah Poneman, founder of Yes to Success, where we offer knowledge and tools for you to live your ultimate life and ageless, anti aging for your brain, your body, and your future. Several years ago, I was being interviewed on a podcast, and the host asked me what had been the biggest challenge in my life. I didn't know beforehand that he was going to ask, so I didn't have a prepared answer. And I never really thought about it before. So I froze. In my mind, I'm like, yikes, I have no idea. And I didn't want to appear like Miss Philippines in the Miss Universe contest, if you remember, who said that she never made any mistakes and never had any challenges. Because believe me, I've made a lot of mistakes and had a lot of challenges. But truthfully, I've had an amazingly blessed life. And I literally could not think of a challenge in the moment. I mean, I had loving, supportive parents. We were not wealthy by any stretch, but I didn't notice it. We always had everything we needed, and even the little extras like piano lessons and sleepover camp. It just wasn't the fancy sleepover camp. And I had a wonderful brother who we've always gotten along. In fact, I adore him, and we have a mutual admiration society. I have great health, many friends. I've had two husbands, not at the same time, but both amazing men, brilliant, handsome, loving, kind, divorced from both because the marriage part of our friendship was over, but I still love them and will always be good friends. They're both remarried now to fabulous women, and I'm so happy that they're so happy. I have a son and a daughter who I'm constantly in awe of, a career I love, and spiritual practices that have brought great inner fulfillment. But while fumbling around for the answer, when I was on that podcast and not having time to think about it, I said, well, I guess my greatest challenge is that no matter how much I do or have or accomplish or how much I give, I never feel it's enough or that I'm enough. Who can relate? So, why is that? Well, according to my fabulous friend Shelley Lefko, founder of the Lefko Institute, who helps people get rid of deeply rooted beliefs, she says she's never had even one client that didn't have the belief, I'm not enough. And she's been doing this work for 40 years. In my case, for example, I never felt like I was a good daughter. Although, except for my teenage years, I was incredibly close to my mom and dad, who are both now in heaven. My dad would always say, I always tell Debbie not to go to Hollywood because she's so beautiful. Some producer would find her and then she'd never come home. And he actually believed that. And my mom would always say, I don't know what I did to have a daughter like Debbie. So, for the last couple months in my mother's life, I moved in with her and we sat together watching Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune and Do You Want to Be a Millionaire? She loved those shows that kept her mind sharp. And I take her for rides and to appointments, and we'd pick up food or we'd picnic. But after she died, the majority of the time when I reflected back on those final weeks and months that I lived with her, I beat myself up about the time I spent working during those months, albeit next to her in her bed, instead of being present with her. In my industry, it's sometimes called the speaker's syndrome, which I also have. It's where you get a 2 minute standing ovation at the end of a talk, and then someone comes up and says, you know, you attributed that quote to the wrong person. And after that, all you can think about is what an idiot you are and that darn misquote. You're probably laughing right now. And you've probably heard that especially if you've read The Neuroscience of Happiness by Dr. Rick Hansen, that and he explains it in there that our minds have a negativity bias. He says, and I quote, the mind is like Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. One more example. I was talking to a friend a while back, and we both belong to an organization of our peers. And she was sharing that she always feels invisible at our twice a year gatherings and how she watches me always in the middle of the action, and feels like she should drop out and no one would miss her. Well, I nearly fell off my chair because I thought that she always looked like she was in the middle of the action and I should drop out because I'm obviously invisible. Then we asked a few other friends, and surprise, surprise, what do you think everyone thought? And I'm talking about some of the world's most recognized transformational leaders. So, how do you overcome this? Well, I'm going to share a few tools and techniques to get you going, ones that have worked miracles for me and that I continue to use on a regular basis. So, first, you know that sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach or that tightness in your throat or heart when something happens that makes you feel like you're stupid or inappropriate or just inadequate? So, you know what I'm talking about. And you might always know that that feeling is not about what's happening in the moment, but rather how what's happening in the moment is hitting up against some old beliefs. And what's causing you pain is not what just happened, but your belief about what just happened, which more often than not is not true. So, the first thing I recommend for long term inner fullness, and so that you don't always feel like you're the one who's inadequate, is have a meditation practice. I know I mention this all the time, but I feel so strongly about it. And one that's been scientifically proven to release stress and impressions in your mind and your body that have been accumulating for weeks, months, years of living, actually, your whole lifetime, and at the same time creates growing inner silence and peace. Not a technique that you learn down the street at the YMCA or from someone who decided that they're going to teach people how to be instantly enlightened. Hint, don't count on it. But rather one that has been passed down by an ancient tradition and has withstood the test of time, one that's taught by a qualified teacher who's been training in that tradition. The two best techniques that I found that meet those criteria are the transcendental meditation technique taught by the TM organization and Sahaj Samadhi meditation. Sahaj means simple, Samadhi means that place of unbounded peace, unbounded awareness, that's taught through the Art of Living Foundation. They have the most scientific research that I've seen to substantiate their claims of more inner silence and ever growing self love. Trying to feel happy and content on the outside without that deep silence on the inside that meditation creates is like trying to build a building without a foundation and wondering why it crumbles. And also, if you look at the ocean and it's full of tumultuous waves, it's still silent at its depths. You want a practice that anchors you to the silence at your depth. But in the moment, when you have the contracted feeling, the first thing to do is breathe. Breathe directly into where you feel the contraction. Breathe into it. Send it love. Even send it thanks. You can even put your hand on where the pain is emanating from, whether it's your heart or your gut or your throat, and just breathe. If you like to, you can even ask the pain what it's trying to tell you. Ask what the message is and trust that that life-changing message is something that you really need to listen to. Of course, if you're alone, you could also do things when you feel like you really blew it. You can scream into a pillow, you could pound a pillow until that pain subsides and get it the heck out of your body. But don't do that when you're in public, unless you want them to take you away. And now comes the juicy part. Know that everything is a gift. As Byron Katie, author of Loving What Is, says, life is simple. Everything happens for you, not to you. And everything happens at exactly the right moment, neither too soon nor too late. You don't have to like it. It's just easier if you do. My favorite quote from Byron Katie. So, as something is happening and I'm feeling inadequate and not enough, I say to it, thank you, thank you, Thank you. Thank you. I say thank you to the God of my understanding for the pain because if you curse the pain, it contracts you even more. But when you give thanks for the pain, it expands you. And then the gift that the pain wants to reveal reveals itself much more quickly. And I even take it a step further when I remember to do it. I do the ancient Hawaiian practice of reconciliation and forgiveness called Ho'oponopono. I've talked about this before, so I won't go deeply into it, but it's a Hawaiian kahuna prayer, and all it is four phrases that you repeat. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Just repeat those four sentences. Doesn't matter what order they're in. And it's not an intellectual thing like, well, who am I forgiving? Am I forgiving myself for being an idiot? No, it's just a prayer. So don't get into your head about it. What happens when you use this prayer is that a sense of peace will come over you. When you start using this on a regular basis, you'll find those impressions of not enough don't take hold every time you find yourself in a situation where you don't feel enough. And you find yourself being spontaneously directed to what is more perfect for your life. I don't know how the Ho'oponopono works, but I know it does. And all it is saying those four phrases silently over and over. I'm sorry, please forgive me. Thank you, I love you. And there's always the option again of doing work with someone like Shelley Lefko. She is a master at getting rid of beliefs that aren't serving you, or tapping with someone like Margaret Lynch, or theta healing with the amazing Karen Abrams, or ancestral clearing with John Newton. And if you do some kind of work that clears these old impressions from your nervous system, or you have any suggestions, share them in the comments below. But these give you a starting point. Oh, and one more thing. Remember me and my friend and how we thought we were the only ones who felt invisible at our transformational leader gatherings? Well, we decided that the next time we were one of those gatherings of our peers, instead of worrying about ourselves and how we felt invisible and definitely not part of the in crowd, we decided instead that when we had that feeling, we would look around and notice if there were others sitting alone or looking like they felt invisible, and extend love to them, reach out to them, make sure they were okay and they were included. And it worked like a charm. So that's it for today. And by the way, be watching for my big announcement. Some of you have heard about it. Yes, after 44 years of teaching Yes to Success, there is something new on the horizon because I think that we are all ready to wake up. See you next week. Bye for now.